The Porsche 956 and 962 Group C cars were some of the most iconic and stunningly successful racing machines ever built. The German marque absolutely dominated European endurance racing through the early to mid-80s and saw its fair share of success across the pond too. So with such a strong legacy and proven record, why should a rules change stand in the way of Le Mans' most successful car winning even more? This is the story of the Dauer 962. Introduced in 1982, the Group C sports car regulations gave rise to one of sports car racing's most exciting eras. But for the first few years, just one manufacturer controlled the class at Le Mans: Porsche. Developed to compete from the very start of the new rules cycle, the Porsche 956 set the Group C bar very high. It was powered by a turbocharged flat 6, originally used in the 936, which had won Le Mans in 1981, but it was the aerodynamics that really set the new 956 apart. It was designed to take advantage of the ground effect, resulting in 3 times more downforce than the Le Mans winning 917 of the previous decade. The hard work paid off, and in their first year of racing, Porsche stormed the World Sports Car Championship and 956s crossed the line at Le Mans in 1st, 2nd and 3rd place. That kind of performance would come to define the first half-decade of Group C sports car racing, with Porsche taking win after win both with their factory team and the many private teams that bought 956s to race as well. Let me tell you the story of one of them. This is a sponsored section you'll want to stick around for. Richard Lloyd Racing acquired chassis 956-106 in 1983, achieving a handful of podium finishes and an overall victory at Brands Hatch with the car in 1984. But the firm realised if they were going to have any chance of fighting the better funded factory outfit at Le Mans, they were going to need to think outside the box. They used a new aluminium honeycomb tub designed by Nigel Stroud, with the advantage being that of increased stiffness compared to the original factory's chassis. Porsche recognised the car as 956-106B, and it worked. At Le Mans 1985, the Richard Lloyd racing car, in the hands of Jonathan Palmer, James Weaver and Richard Lloyd, beat the factory Rothmans Porsche outfit by 4 laps come the end of the gruelling 24 hours. The only problem was, another privateer had beaten them too, landing 956-106B a brilliant, if tantalising, 2nd place overall. At Spa later the same year, Jonathan Palmer suffered a major accident in the car. He credited his survival to the updated chassis. This limited production timepiece incorporates a bit of 956-106B, with the 30-minute counter having a part of the car's clutch disc embedded within it. The outer rim shows the 374km/h mark, the 1986 Le Mans speed record. Taking a look at the reverse side, and you'll see the custom rotor has been made to replicate a gold BBS wheel, while the surrounding ring evokes the fuel cap, complete with hex bolts. Production is naturally limited to 508 pieces for the Richard Lloyd Racing colourway and 448 pieces for the Liquimoli colourway. You can secure yourself one of these awesome and unique timepieces by visiting the link below and get 10% off your order with my code AUTO10. That's AUTO10 for 10% off. Thanks to Rec Watchers for sponsoring this part of the video and for making some of the coolest motorsport related products I can think of. Now, back to the video. Porsche had to change their car for IMSA competition thanks to a rules difference, which resulted in the development of the 956's semi-successor, the 962C, though they were conceptually essentially the same car, despite minor layout tweaks. All totted up, the Porsche Group C/GTP machines scored 3 IMSA championships, 5 FIA World Sports Car Championships, and 6 overall Le Mans wins, making it the most successful Group C sports car ever built. But Porsche themselves kind of let it be, choosing not to develop the car much further or start work on a replacement. And so by the time they lost their Le Mans crown in 1988, it was clear the future of Group C would belong to those constructors hungry for their own chance at glory. Group C itself, however, was not on solid ground and wasn't going to last forever. After a 1991 rules change that mandated 3.5-litre naturally aspirated engines, which saw development costs soar and competition dwindle, Group C started to dissolve. The World Sports Car Championship dissolved in 1992, and Group C was retired as the top class at Le Mans after 1993. Following a decade of some of the most exciting endurance racing ever though, the question became, what next? The answer was GT1. Unlike Group C, which was a prototype class, meaning the cars were only built to race, GT class racing is ostensibly supposed to be contested by race-modified road cars. This helps, in theory, to keep costs down and prevent the kind of insane budget spiralling that killed Group C, while tying the racing cars to cars viewers could theoretically buy, or at least see out on the road. Of course, in practice, things didn't really pan out that way. With the shift to a wholly new rules era, the hope was that the slate could be wiped clean and a new generation of racing machines would rise to the top. A handful of constructors, however, weren't so keen for Group C to be over just yet, and given how enormously quick those old cars were, not to mention battle-tested and well understood, wouldn't it be wonderful if there was a way to take one of those great Group C cars and race it in GT1? Introducing Dauer Sportwagen. Just one of a few firms that decided they wanted to drive Group C rockets on the open road. Founded by Jochen Dauer in 1987, Dauer Sportwagen, previously Dauer Racing, had primarily been a racing team until the early 90s when they shifted focus instead to road car production. Sort of. The Dauer 962 wasn't going to be built from the ground up, but would instead be built around retired racing chassis with alterations to make the cars road legal. To achieve this, they worked with Porsche directly, both to access 962 factory parts and to manufacture a number of new parts necessary for road legality. Beyond just adding lights and stuff, Dauer refabricated parts of the bodywork, changed the floor of the car, and of course added a second seat on the inside, along with some very 90s looking upholstery. To meet ride height requirements without compromising dynamics too much, the cars were also fitted with hydraulic suspension. The Dauer 962 made itself known to the world at the 1993 Frankfurt Motor Show, and to be frank, it is one of the coolest cars ever. Find me a person on this earth who honestly doesn't think that the Dauer 962 is cool, and I'll find you a flying pig. I trust the comments will have a handful of people exclaiming, actually, I think it's overrated, or something, and to those people I say, contrarianism doesn't make you interesting. Was it a reasonable car in any sense of the word? Absolutely not. But it never pretended to be anything other than totally insane. That was kind of the point, actually. Powered by basically the same turbocharged flat 6 as the later 962C racing cars, unsurprisingly, the Dauer version boasted a power output of around 720 horsepower, all going to the rear wheels, and a top speed of 251 miles an hour. This made it, quote, the world's fastest production road car, though describing the Dauer 962 as a production car has always been contentious due to its derivation from existing racing chassis, and the fact they only made 13 of them. It's a spiritually different beast to the contemporary McLaren F1 that is usually associated with the production car speed record at this time. The Dauer 962 is a production car insofar as it's a car that was produced. It also didn't complete a proper two-way run to the best of my knowledge, so while the speed was real, it was never really a proper record, for a couple of reasons. Despite all the effort expended on making the old race cars road legal, however, Porsche had hatched a dastardly plan. What if we turned these road cars back into race cars? Astonishingly, this was seemingly allowed by the rules as they were written for Le Mans 1994. At the very least, there was nothing in the rules that said you couldn't do it, and so much to the ire of the ACO, Le Mans' governing body, it was looking like the Porsche 962 would make a triumphant return to Le Mans in the new LMGT1 class. While Group C had gone away after 1993, 1994 would be the actual final year the class was allowed to run at Le Mans. The catch was, though, that any car running in the Group C class, designated as LMP1 cars technically, would be heavily penalised compared to everyone else, being forced to run with smaller fuel tanks and restrictors to limit power output. They were only really allowed in to make up the numbers as teams switched to either open-top LMP/WSC cars or GT cars. With the ACO's fury made clear to Dauer Porsche, the team were aware they might only get one shot at glory with the 962 Le Mans, and so two cars would be run by Porsche factory partner Jost Racing under the banner of the Le Mans Porsche team. Car number 35 would be driven by Hans Stuck, Danny Sullivan and Thierry Boutsen, while car number 36 would be driven by Yannick Dalmas, Hurley Hayward and Mauro Baldi. It's fair to say Porsche had pulled together an all-star cast. Qualifying exposed the compromises that had been made during the conversion process, as the fastest time set by any of the drivers in the Dauer was around 20 seconds slower than the fastest lap set in a Group C era 962. They qualified 5th and 7th, with both closed cockpit former Group C machines and open-top sports cars ahead of them. On race day, it was an all-out melee, with a handful of cars looking poised to maybe take the win with a little bit of luck. But after many hours of battling, it turned out to be the Toyota 94 CVs entered by Saad and Nisso Trust that would cause Porsche their biggest headaches. Despite the smaller fuel tank and reduced power output, the Group C Toyotas led much of the race, able to corner much faster than the Porsches, but losing out on the straights. The Porsches had trouble too, with both cars having driveshaft trouble and the number 35 ultimately needing a replacement during the race, costing them heaps of time. But in the early afternoon, after leading for over 9 hours, the Saad-run Toyota suffered a gear linkage failure that ultimately decided the race. They fixed it and were able to fight against the number 35 Porsche right to the line, but the number 36 of Dalmas, Hayward and Baldi had gotten there a lap ahead, securing the Dauer 962 a monumental victory, the first in LMGT1 and undoubtedly one of the most controversial wins in Le Mans history. Victory thanks to a mechanical failure in the 22nd hour for a GT car based on a road car based on a prototype race car left a bad taste in some people's mouths, including regulators. Despite the nail-biting racing, the ACO were rather displeased with the Dauer Porsche, firmly and arguably correctly believing it wasn't really competing within the spirit of the rules. So after 1994, the GT1 rules were changed, stipulating that a minimum number of road cars must be built before a race version is permitted to compete in the class. Why they didn't choose to do that originally is beyond me. You would have thought they'd have thought to do that in the first place, but apparently not. The upshot was though that after their dramatic win in 1994, Porsche finally had to retire the 962 for good. There would be no more loopholes or tricks to bring it back a second time, and the Dauer 962 would never race at Le Mans again. Despite the controversy, and with the benefit of hindsight, I think it's safe to say that the Dauer 962 is one of Le Mans' most fascinating victors. They played the rulebook so perfectly, raced on the ragged edge for the whole 24 hours, and had the result go their way in just the final hour. It's surely everything great about endurance racing, and the fact they made a road-going Group C car to do it, sublime. I'd argue the Dauer 962's win is actually somewhat unfairly caveated much of the time. To hear the stories of other cars that maybe deserved better, check out this video here. Thanks as always to our wonderful channel members for helping make videos like this possible. To support Automobilistic directly, click or tap the join button below. Thanks for watching, and until next time, goodbye.